Oh wow, I wasn't expecting. This is really good. Even though it burned through 20 million tokens for this, which is kind of crazy. Okay, so the GA version of DeepSeek V4 Pro is here and it's pretty impressive. But I'm personally more excited about their DeepSeek Harness. This is their own agentic coding system and it looks pretty amazing. We're going to set it up and I'll show you how to use it in this video. But before that, a quick look at the model itself. So they're calling it a major agent upgrade. Agentic coding has been the focus of all of the Chinese models lately. Now, they are also introducing flexible reasoning effort for Pro and Flash versions and native support for OpenAI Responses API. Now, the benchmarks themselves were leaked yesterday and seems like the leaks were accurate. It's actually a pretty big jump compared to the previous preview. However, it's not as big of a jump as the Flash version was. Still a really impressive model. I would call it a model that aligns with Kimi K3 rather than Fable 5. Now, some independent benchmarks. So 4 Pro is the 8th best model overall, which I think is pretty impressive feat, but it lags behind Qwen 3.8 Max that was just a couple of days ago. But keep in mind, it's a substantially smaller model compared to the likes of Kimi K3 or Qwen 3. Now, before we look at the harness, a substantial price increase, 2x all the way up to 4x in peak hours, but still this is one of the best pricing for a frontier level model. So even with this pricing, still Pareto frontier of cost versus performance. And this is important because this shows you that every lab is facing compute crunch. And DeepSeek is not immune to that. But still, they are able to provide really competitive pricing compared to the other providers. Okay, now let's talk about the harness because I think this is the most exciting part of this release. So they're calling this the DeepSeek Harness, still in developer preview. So there are going to be a lot of rough edges. Their whole idea is that everything is going to be a plugin. Even the tools, skills, sessions, everything is treated as a plugin that you can bring in to your agent. So you can mix, match, and replace and even extend different capabilities. You can even call Codex or Cloud Code as a plugin. So you can build multi-agent system with the different harnesses using their framework. They explain the whole philosophy in this new paper, A Programming Paradigm for Spatial Temporal Composability. Link is going to be in the video description if you're interested. So I cloned the repo and then installed it directly from the source, which worked beautifully. And this is what I would recommend you doing if you run into any issues. Okay, so here's the repo that I have cloned. Now, once you install it, you can actually start their web servers or web app because it actually ships with a pretty nice, beautiful web app. You can provide the port number, but just run the DS web. And this is going to start it on a local host with port 3080. You can change the port if you want. Now, here's how the interface looks like. So in this video, I'm going to give you a walkthrough, and then we're going to create a more detailed video and testing it. Now, when you log in for the first time, it's going to show you a place where you can provide the API key. So for this, you need to go to your DeepSeek account, then go to API keys and create a new API key. This is what you will need in order to run the DeepSeek Harness. Okay, so to get started, you need to set up your workspace. This is essentially a folder that you can select where you want to store everything regarding a project. Then you have different modes. 100 mode, full coding agent with file editing, shell, and web search. You actually need to set up the web search separately. Then code mode, minimal mode, and then creator mode, where you can create your own profiles and custom agents. You will also have the ability to select the models. Now, since I provided the DeepSeek API key, so I have access to both Flash and Pro. I'm going to select Flash just to save some money. Also, you have the option to compact, export, all the session logs, provide feedback. There is also a goal/goal. So all of the features that modern agent harness will offer you are present here. Now, if you go to setting, this is a thing where some really interesting things are present. So I'm going to show you a few of those here. So for permission, you have read-only, workspace, write, and full access. Full access is basically the dangerously skip permission mode used to come with Cloud Code. Now, for models, you can add a new provider. It's MIT license, so I think you can easily bring in other models if you want. And if you want to run a local version, which I'm going to show you in another video, where I am running the model on 2 DGX Spark cluster, you can provide that as well. Then there is this whole idea of plugins. They have a list of plugins that is already available. Some of them are enabled, some of them are disabled, but you can change the configurations to enable those. Now you can set up all the configuration in this YAML file, and this is where you can bring in your own model as well. Right now the provider is DeepSeek official. This is the currently selected model, and you can also change the reasoning effort here. Now, interestingly, since this is a web app that you can set up, I think you can just put this web app somewhere on the web, and then you'll have access to your own DeepSeek harness from anywhere, which is a very interesting idea, and it's worth trying out. Okay, plugin specifically I wanted to point out was web search. So if you provide your DeepSeek key, it actually enables it directly for you. But if you don't provide your DeepSeek key, then web search is not available. So keep that in mind. Okay, to test out, we're going to run this prompt. We wanted to create a real-time tracker for International Space Station. Now, for this, I'm providing the API endpoint where it has to ping every 5 seconds to get the real-time data. So it's a relatively simple task, but I think it's going to show us the real capabilities of the agent harness itself and its debugging capability. So here is how it looks like. It's actually really fast, both for the Flash and version. It's pretty fast. And I feel like they have done really good work with the sleek UI they have. Look at the context injection. It gives you very detailed logs on everything that the agent is doing. Now, personally, on some of my quick tests, I still prefer the Flash version compared to the Pro on coding, and it's a lot cheaper as well. Okay, so it created a to-do list. It's taking off items one by one. Right, similar vibes to Codex here. Okay, so that probably makes sense because this person pointed out that DeepSeek Harness was heavily developed using Codex. At least 20% of commits and PRs are coming from Codex work tree. Right, so that would kind of make sense on why it has Codex vibes in the UI. Okay, at the bottom actually it shows some really interesting information. So it shows you the current average tokens per second, which is 112 tokens per second. Also with the cache hit rate, it varies from 95 to 98%, which is actually pretty impressive. I'm going to say that DeepSeek has one of the best cache hit rates that I have seen. So it shows you the number of turns, which I don't think is probably accurate, but you have the current running time along with the at first token and the tokens per second. So this is a really neat level of information that they provide. Okay, seems like the initial implementation is done. It's doing a verification in Playwright. Now keep in mind, can't see, the models don't have vision, but it can run tests. Okay, so it's kind of stuck. Okay, so it's finally done. The stats are kind of crazy. So it took 35 minutes. There were 2 turns. I had to ask it to fix a small issue, but it burned through 20 million tokens. The output tokens were 240,000 tokens at 130 tokens per second. But the most important thing, 100% cache hit, which is really crazy. I think I was seeing around 95 to 100%, but still it's one of the best cache design that I have seen in a while. Now, also they give you a lot of visibility into the stats, which is really good to see because a lot of harnesses basically hides this information. What exactly about the output? Well, I'm impressed. This is one of the best output I have seen for this specific prompt. The visuals are really nice, so it's definitely using an existing shader to actually render the Earth, but it went through multiple different passes of figuring out which one to use. A really nice touch is that the location of the sun relative to the Earth is correct. So right now it's time in the US and it's effectively reflected in the output. This is a pretty nice touch. Now in terms of the actual output, right, so it's tracking the location pretty accurately. If we go to the real-time location, this is where it is right now. So it's off of North America, actually towards South America, right, going towards Africa. And if we look at it, it's exactly the same position, right? And then I wasn't actually expecting the output quality to be this good, really, because I have experimented with DeepSeek models before. They still lag the visual quality, but with this harness, it's actually really well. I personally prefer the Flash version compared to the Pro based on my quick experiments, because the Flash version gives you a better ROI compared to the Pro version, even though the pricing is extremely competitive. So I'll highly recommend, if you're looking for agentic coding tasks, check out the Flash version. The Pro version is a big upgrade compared to the previous Pro, but I still think that the Flash version has a better value. I'm just waiting for them to add multimodal support. That is going to be really interesting. Now, I also so far like the experience of DeepSeek Harness, although it feels like it's a lot more token hungry. Hopefully with the next iterations, it's going to improve the token efficiency as well. But DeepSeek models, and especially open models, are never known for their token efficiency. This is one of the biggest drawbacks with open models. But you can run this on your own machine. Actually, with the V4 Flash version, I'm running on a cluster of 2 DGX parts and it works pretty nicely. I probably am going to start using this with the DeepSeek Harness more now. Anyways, do let me know what your experience with DeepSeek Harness is. I'm going to be creating more videos on it. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.